right, I can see that we have opened up the Zoom link. We'll give it a few minutes. And you're going live as well, no, Sishan? Yeah.
So now you just allowed people to enter?
Yeah, so people are going to start connecting now. It's 3 p.m. I see some people joining. And I can see that we're live on Facebook. So for our Facebook fans and our social media followers, welcome to another Creative Zone webinar. And we're going to give it another couple of minutes to let everybody join. We have with us a very interesting panel with Alistair Paine and Julia Jackle. I'll do some formal introductions when we get started, but today's topic is on setting up and growing a successful e-commerce business. It's a very important topic of nowadays. We've seen a lot of companies setting up e-commerce businesses in the last 2 years or so, since the pandemic and even before the pandemic. But I think things grew exponentially once we became such a more work from home environment and our borders got locked. So I can see about 30 people connected and a lot more people have registered. We have about 200 signups. So we'll give it another 1 or 2 minutes. I see some familiar faces. Good afternoon, Julia. How are you, dear?
Good afternoon.
How's everything? It's been a while.
Good, good. Yeah, it's been a while. I think it's good that we had a brief sink in, but yeah, it's good. Your background is so picturesque. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's the real thing. It's actually not a fake background. It's it's the view from our boardroom. And Alistair, you are on the 19th floor. I'm on the 17th now. How are you, Alistair?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Lorenzo. Busy. How are you?
Good, good, good. All good. Thank you for joining and for dedicating a bit of your time on this. And Julia as well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Sure. I think for us, it's good because anyways, we work with you guys and most of the time we talk to Alistair. So I think it's a good trio, to connect. So even for people to put a face to our names, sometimes from your side, they'd know, but from our side, no one knows how Alistair looks like. So it's good to connect it. And we'll record this session, right? So we can post it up on YouTube then as well.
Exactly. It's being recorded. So we're going to be able to share this link with all the attendees and with a wider audience as well. And as you were saying, yes, this is something I would like us to touch upon today. You were talking about how we are collaborating with one another. I think for the benefit of the viewers, they're going to get to learn a little bit on how we cooperate with one another and how we can facilitate and support a lot of the e-commerce businesses that we are helping set up in the UAE, and where you come into the picture and also help some of our clients and what you do independently of this as well.
Yeah.
Great. So it's 3:03. I think it's 3 minutes into it. So I think we can start. We can get going with today's session. We have about 40 people connected, more people to come in. We are live on our social media channels, so we got a bit of quite a good audience looking at this today, and post event we'll be sharing it as well. So again, welcome everybody to another Creative Zone webinar. My name is Lorenzo Jooris. I'm the CEO of Creative Zone, and this is a regular concept that we've been doing over the last few months. We pick up a different topic and we try to invite some guests, some professionals on the topic. Today we have Julia Jackle with us. She's the co-founder and CEO of Creative 971, which is a sort of an advisory company on issues related to e-commerce related businesses. So Julia is going to give us a bit of an introduction of what she does. And we have Alistair Paine, who is our business setup manager. He's been in the business of helping companies and helping individuals set up their businesses here in the UAE for over 8 years. I would say he's one of the most professional individuals in the field of business setup. Alistair and Julia, thank you so much for joining us today and for dedicating a bit of your time on today's webinar.
Thank you for having us, of course, as well.
Good.
Thank you.
So maybe let's do a quick introduction, Julia, into who you are and what you do, and then slowly we'll start going into the topics of today.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Julia, as Lorenzo already introduced me. So who am I, apart from being co-founder and CEO of Creative 971? We run an agency, and I'm talking about we as my co-founder, Nico, my brother. We do have Creative 971 as a leading Shopify and Shopify Plus agency in the Middle East. So that means, what do we do? Anything on e-commerce that you need to set up your website. You need to have, let's say, a theme set up, a drop shipping website, anything e-commerce to get you going. Like Lorenzo said, whether it be from the consulting point, from the early on stages, or later on in terms of implementation, design, development, data integrations, where it usually comes to play. So, and maybe a bit more onto the role of why we work together, or how we work together with Creative Zone is, apart from the partnership we have, we do work with a lot of mutual clients. So how that happens is, an early stage, we're in a discussion of opening or doing a website, and then the client would say, oh, hey, but what happens? Like, what license do I need? The license requirements are ever changing, and it's such a challenging domain itself. Like, even for me living in the country, suddenly every year or every other month, there's a new announcement. And we do like our people, our clients, to be on the right way, to be in the legal way. And I think the best partner could be Creative Zone, and helping, to lead and track down the way, answer questions early on. A lot of times we're, let's say, early on adapter, we navigate the questions together with, most of the time, Alistair, who is our contact or point of contact, and then coming to a solution that helps you as a client to not only be legally compliant, but at the same time to know what's best and how you can leverage best out of the business that you create. And I think that's so far, proven to be successful. So we're continuing doing the series. We have another, I think, training series as well that we had linked up. I think maybe Lorenzo, you want to say something later on to that, but I think that's so far from my side. And we keep, helping you, entertaining you, not only like helping you with the dry stuff, but helping you to see, the vision of your brand. Because for me, or for us as a business owner, when you start, you literally have no idea what you do. You feel overwhelmed, but at some point your path will form as you walk. So, and I think that's where we're here to guide you in that right path.
Definitely. Thank you, Julia, for that introduction. And maybe Alistair, to you then, what's been your experience so far when it comes to the work that you do? Maybe an introduction about you, but precisely a little bit on the way that you've been supporting companies over all these years, and how it's been becoming more apparent that people are setting up so many e-commerce related type of businesses.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lorenzo. Thanks, Julia. And good afternoon to everyone tuning in. Absolutely, I'm the business setup manager here at Creative Zone. I've been fortunate enough to be doing this now, nearly coming up to 8 years. Today's topic is all about e-commerce, which is by far and away the most popular business we're seeing being set up in the country. I think coronavirus has certainly accelerated the growth of the e-commerce market, both here locally and even globally. And alongside Julia and our other partners, we are providing a 360-degree solution to any entrepreneur looking to set up an e-commerce business. Here in the UAE, I would say it's a great time to come and set up here. The UAE, as we'll probably go into, is such a great place to live and do business. And here at Creative Zone, we're just getting busier and busier. It definitely feels, particularly as we've now gone past the hot summer months, tourists are back, everyone seems to be back in the city, the city's buzzing and it's alive. And yeah, it's a really great time to come here and to set up. So I look forward to a great discussion this afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Alistair. So let's get right to it. Julia, what's been your experience thus far? Where is it that people are needing support when it comes to starting their own e-commerce business? I'm sure you get a lot of people coming with new projects, but by now, with your years of experience, you kind of have sort of a catalog, a list of the key things that somebody needs to do successfully in order to turn their idea, their vision, or what they're looking to do in the e-commerce space into something that actually makes money, into something that actually becomes successful. So what would you say are these 5-6 key ingredients for a successful startup?
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, I think the question is not always what is the right license, but the question is, what is it actually that you want to do? Because there is a gazillion of activities, and a lot of people try to reverse engineer that, but I'd rather say be 100% sure of your business model. So be sure what is it that you want to offer, no matter if it's a service or a product, because that will distinguish what license you will need. And I think a lot of people have that wrong and end up later on adding, activities on top of the license, understanding this is not compatible with that. Okay, let's open a second license. So I think that's a bit of a red flag to look at. So be sure what is it that you want 100%. Then the key ingredient, of course, of knowing what exactly you want to offer is to distinguish that along a story. So people buy from people. Why are people here today is not because they know Creative Zone and Creative 971, but they do believe in us, people behind it, and what we actually do and what we bring to the table, right? So I think that storyline needs to add up. You need to understand if you're starting a business in a competitive market like the UAE, which is oversupplied by so many, businesses or activities, you need to understand what is your unique selling point. So apart from your story, your USP or your unique selling point, whether it be your product, it's let's say a personal brand, or it is a company as such, it still needs to lead on the emotional values, because we've seen today we're here in front of the screen and I'm looking like I'm having a liver failure or something with my yellow color, but in the end, in a natural environment, it would be the three of us in front of you, seeing you live, greeting you live, seeing your faces, so being able to make a human connection. But since we can't do that anymore as we've done it before, there is still a way around. But that's what gives you in your businesses so much more power actually to use that emotion and to leverage that. So I think that's another key ingredient. And don't give up. I think sometimes it's more the discipline over the motivation. When you start, everything's exciting and wow, I have my business and this, and I get my first 100 followers. And then, in a couple of years down the line, you probably wake up and you ask yourself, and why am I doing this? What is better? I want to open my business and I end up working even harder and longer than I've done with any business or any company I was employed to before. Well, this is the truth, right? I mean, hard work comes, from consistently believing in what you do, being authentic, and then, just make it happen. Sometimes it's just, everyone is human. We wake up, we don't feel well every day. We have a headache maybe, or we feel like, questioning our actions. But in the end, it comes down to you continuously showing up and believing in you and in your brand. I think that's the key ingredients.
So far, I can pull 3 key things that you're bringing up. You're saying at the beginning, have the right license, the right structure. I think Alistair is going to be touching upon a lot of this during today's session. The second point that I like a lot, you're saying you need to have a story. You need to have something that is behind who you are, and you need to be able to communicate that story. I'm going to take a few minutes on that topic because I'm actually quite interested in that. And the third one is don't give up too easily. I feel that you're trying to say this is not a short, quick fix. It's something that you're here for the long haul, for the long run. If you're looking to build an e-commerce business, it's not going to happen overnight. Like everything else, maybe sometimes people have the misconception that e-commerce is something that you'll set up a quick website and in a couple of weeks you're selling furniture online or something, So yeah. I like these 3 points. The second point, let's talk to that point, the need to have a story. And again, to this issue, right? I think in any business nowadays, you need to really have something that relates to who you are, your cultural background, that relates to what you're pushing forward as a business. I feel if you don't have that story, if you don't have that linkage, it's like the business itself has no soul. Yeah. I remember meeting with some friends and they wanted to do some e-commerce, and I was saying they saw an opportunity of doing, selling garden furniture online and stuff, but But if you don't come from the industry, you're not passionate about what this is. If you're not linked in a way with where this furniture is coming from, is it from your own home country, and you kind of understand, the cycle of where this is. It's, I'm from Argentina. I like beef, so perhaps I could think of setting up an e-commerce business that relates to Argentinian beef or something. But I think it's important to have that link, right, of who you are, and to be able to tell that story. Is this correct?
Yeah, totally. I mean, at some point, either you have to grow in it, you have to grow a story, or you have to come up with a story, if it doesn't exist from the beginning. But it's the same thing, like from my perspective, for example, I'm a passionate horse rider. Did I start a business based on horse riding? No, but I started it based on a second passion, which is designing, being active, like helping people. So this is one way or another. But you see a lot of days when brands start, you see like one, let's say, eco-friendly and sustainable brands are now in the trend because of obviously what's happening in the world. And you see a lot of those brands start, with a mission, with a good intent, with a positive effect. And then you see a gazillion of brands trying to copy it, or small brands that suddenly pop up, that have a similar vision. So here you can see, like, I mean, you can, you don't have to always reverse engineer what you're doing, but in what you do specifically, you should be at least unique. You shouldn't be trying to copy another brand, because at some point it's going to turn around on you, and you will feel like, well, congratulations, for trying to copy an existing system. But if you're not finding, your way or your angle to it, let's say selling beef in Lorenzo's case, it could be, let's say, for the Dubai, I don't know, home cooking enthusiasts or something. You have to give it an angle. You shouldn't leave it too broad. So I think that's maybe another mission or another message that can help.
Definitely. So Alistair, let's go into that initial first point that Julia was mentioning, which is choosing the right activity, choosing the right license, choosing the right jurisdiction. Actually, we have one question from Ignur. She's mentioning, thank you for organizing this. It says, non-GCC citizens are not allowed to conduct an e-commerce business by themselves. Is this changed with the new regulation? I mean, I think there are different variants to this. Maybe give us an outlook of what's the best formats to enter into the UAE e-commerce landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question in terms of how to sort of structure the business here and how to license it. To be honest, what it really boils down to is what is your model? How are you controlling certain aspects of your supply chain, your delivery? Are you happy to outsource storage, fulfillment? And if the answer to those questions are yes, you're happy to outsource as much as possible, and you really are the website and the various physical components of the sale are handled by someone else, then setting up in a free zone is completely fine. If, however, you want to control certain aspects, some of those physical aspects, the storage, the delivery yourself, then we need to think about coming outside of the free zones and coming onshore under the Department of Economic Development. So which one you go down is very much dependent on you and your business model, which is something definitely to clarify from the start. As Julia is correctly saying, you need to come here with a definitive plan how you want to operate, and then execute it.
So going right to that point, under the DED licensing, for the purpose of the viewers, is an e-commerce business something that foreigners can own 100%?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. That again, when we go down the onshore route under DED, we'd have a couple of options how which activity we choose. If you are simply connecting buyers and sellers, i.e. not selling anything yourself, then it's a professional license, 100% ownership. But now, even if you want to sell goods yourself via an e-commerce platform, you can now own the company 100%. So whatever way you do it onshore, 100% ownership is possible.
Excellent. Julia, what has been your experience so far of the people that you're working with that are not coming through us? Let's say that they come directly to you, because the one that comes to us already they're set up and we're passing them on to you to consult them and advise them on the next steps that usually, and we will explain a little bit more the format of that. But the people that you're working with yourself directly, what's the structure? Are they setting up on free zones? Are they setting up in mainland?
Yeah, I mean, it depends a lot. If it's an existing business that runs a retail and they have retail operations, let's say across the malls, or, you know, like probably a traditional trading business, then yes, they would have to find solutions, you know, to, you know, structure it between their entities. But then, you know, that's usually the point where we'd bring in Alistair to discuss. If it's businesses that start, you know, as a startup or SME and they just want to test waters, we usually tell them to start off with, you know, whatever is, you know, the best way forward is usually could be a free zone license, you know, but it doesn't have to be, like, especially now, you know, with the regulations being changed. But what we see a lot is basically businesses that are actually setting up, whether it be, you know, like sort of a free zone license and then tapping into it. If you already have the intent, you do not want to, let's say, have stores, or you do not want to have, let's say, hire certain amount of stuff, and, you know, you don't need that visa, so you don't need that extra packages, then I think let's say the most cost efficient version is what we see, what people are choosing, you know, just to test waters and get going. And a lot of times as well, you know, like you might start with the intent of selling, I don't know, accessories, right? Or like t-shirts, but then you end up, you know, adding other product variants or adding other channels, or, you know, out of selling t-shirts, you come to establish, let's say, a sort of different activity that could be a running club, right? Like selling t-shirts, and the t-shirt will have a special mission, or let's say the 5 a.m. runners, or whatever you want to call it. And then, you know, out of that, there will be a transformation of actually organizing that community event. So that would obviously, you know, if you have a membership payment to it, that would of course be like a different activity. So I think, of course, you know, your license can evolve. And as you grow the business, as you transform, and as you've said, Lorenzo, it's more like a marathon than a destination mindset. It's like with everything, you know, and like, it's the same thing. Like I try to apply for a simple visualization. If you eat every day in and out chocolate, biscuits, Nutella, you name it, you know, you won't have a healthy body, and you won't probably look attractive as how you want to look. So if it's kind of the same mission that you feed into the business, and then, you know, you have to apply that, like it's a fine tuning, and of course, as you go, licenses will change. Like that's why, for example, as well, when we have a question, we reach out to Alistair as well. Now, one interesting part I want to touch on is our dropshipping masterclass and the e-commerce online course, because what happens throughout that, people are actually purchasing the course, looking through the course, understanding, okay, this is what I need, where can I go to get it? There is also actually a recorded communication with Alistair and our team as well, to understand what are the licensing questions that you might have. And then from there on, people would go contact you guys over at Creative Zone and say, hey, you know, we've seen that and we got to be in touch. So it's either mostly actively bringing you guys in, or as well, then, you know, the other way down, that people come down and see from the value that we've provided on the online courses.
No, definitely. Maybe at this time, I can ask our tech team, they can include some of the links to these landing pages. Maybe there could be two things that we can post there for the benefit of the viewers. One of them could be, if you would like to learn more information about, you know, the different setup options, whether a free zone, a jurisdiction, you can fill in the following link. There's a form, and Alistair will be getting in touch with you directly and sharing, you know, all our presentations and options. And maybe our tech team can also put out the landing page of the upcoming workshops that Julia has coming up on these topics of dropshipping and e-commerce, that we're also doing in collaboration with Julia, where we're inviting our own clients and customers to also be part of this, if you would like to learn more about these different possibilities. Alistair, what else can we add? There's a question here coming from one of the viewers. Kenneth is saying, thank you for the webinar. Can you sell cosmetics, skincare with an e-commerce license? And are you able to get these cosmetics approved with Dubai Health Authority if they're not existent in the UAE market yet?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. And I think what Julia's point there about evolving your business, going from product to product and expanding what you are selling here, it is obviously important being able to do that. To answer Kenneth's question directly, yes, you can get approval from cosmetics that are not sold here previously. There's an approval from DHA. You also have to have the products registered with Dubai municipality. But as long as you had the information on where they're manufactured, where the safety tests have been conducted, that they're labeled correctly in English and Arabic. Product registration, is fairly straightforward and generally not that expensive to do. So as long as you're armed with that information, our team are able to assist you with any sort of product registrations you want. That's obviously not just limited to cosmetics. Any sort of products that you want to bring here that are perhaps not sold here, there is a process to register any product, but anyone with any questions on that, do feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to help.
Irfan is saying, if I give import and export consultancy, especially in medical gases and associated, sorry, the message moved, in associated equipments remotely in Dubai from Pakistan, is there a need for an e-commerce or other type of license? I'm guessing in this case is more to do with a consultancy activity that he could get, right, Alistair?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like he'd need a consultancy activity. Look, if you're conducting commercial business in this country, you need a trade license. There are fairly severe penalties if you don't get one. So it's not worth trying to sort of try and dance around that. In terms of what activity, yes, it would be a consultancy activity, I think, rather than an e-commerce. But I'll pop my email into the chat box if Irfan wants to reach out. I'll be happy to discuss further with them.
Yeah, please include your email there and on the chat box, and maybe Julia as well. You can put yours in case people want to reach out and also find out more about the workshops that you do. My tech team is telling me that the workshop landing page is being put together as we speak. So I don't think we have that to share right now, but this is meant to come middle of October, correct, Julia, if I understand correctly?
Yeah, correct. I think we had it when we had the announcement in the summer about our partnership. We said, what, we'll take you guys literally through in a short version of what we would do, any process that you would go through with all the questions that you have regarding to licensing and e-commerce and what's probably the right platform. What could I do? There's probably each of you has a different, personalized question that, has a different angle. So we're diving into that on, I think, a 4 weeks training session that we do together with you guys. And we're actually ending that up with one in-person meeting to actually, touch base one-on-one, maybe sit down with Alistair if you have specific questions on licensing or anything e-commerce related that we could help you in terms of the website or design. And I think also I saw one question from a lady called Julie Christine that was asking if there is a replay. So yes, this is a recorded session, so you can re-review the questions and answers being given. Yeah.
And maybe Julia, there's another good question. Maybe you could tackle this one. It says, how can I start an e-commerce business, swimsuits and beach products, where I am based in Dubai, but my stocks are in South Africa? It will be shipped from South Africa to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question because these days, the world has become a smaller place, and so to say, because, as we say, we're all sitting in different locations or different floors, but we're still in one screen in one event. So likewise, your products might not be all in the same location. If your manufacturer is in South Africa and you have a communication with your manufacturer to directly deliver from South Africa to your client's doorstep, that's totally fine. I think you just need to make sure that delivery terms and payments and, the structure is being met, that there is, let's say, kind of a liability or a commitment between you and your manufacturer. And it's fine. You can technically ship it from anywhere.
Now, Deborah is saying shipping is too expensive from South Africa. So this is where, the sort of your USPs start coming into play, and you deciding, how you operate from a business setup point of view, from a logistics point of view. Where are you going to be manufacturing? Where is your product being manufactured? Where are you shipping from? What advice can we give to viewers on this topic, Julia?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of shipping, I can relate to that. I mean, I'm I'm from Germany, right, originally. And even for me, shipping or sending anything, receiving anything back, it can be a nightmare, a mission, lengthy period, expensive, right? So what I would suggest to you, if you actually try to actively run your revenue stream, your income through your e-commerce website, then you have to make sure that you source your products. Otherwise, go to the main supplier, look for alternative suppliers in your region that can supply that at cheaper rates or faster ways. Because if you're really trying to only rely on that product in South Africa, the other way is you have to kind of absorb that within your cost, within your mission statement, or within how you structure the brand or the product pricing. Other than that, there is not much you can do, right? If you're not able to find the exact same manufacturer in another country with a cheaper rates, you could still opt for getting those products, or have them like kind of in a larger shipment coming together. Sometimes as well, people believe shipments by air are so super expensive. Well, they're actually not that expensive anymore compared to what all happened with the container shipping business. We've seen like the price has gone up so much as well, especially also since Corona. But I mean, cargo planes were still able to fly. So if you approach some of them, I think specifically with DHL, we've worked it out on a couple of clients we had ourselves, and we were actually surprised how affordable air freight can sometimes come out compared to by sea. So maybe that's another option to to look, or to have that approached.
Excellent. Alistair, maybe this one could be for you. Hagai is saying, how does it work with DMC? I guess he means with DMCC. If I want to trade commodities, so DMCC is the Dubai Multi-Commodities a free zone that they used to be known as a free zone. They are a free zone, but it specializes on commodities. If I'm not located in the UAE. So how can we explain what could be the different structure for someone that wants to operate from the UAE, do business in the UAE, and maybe do trading across the world, with someone that just doesn't want to operate from here, but still conduct and do some trading around the world?
Yeah, absolutely. DMCC is a fantastic free zone. It's actually the largest free zone here in the UAE in terms of active company registrations. However, physical presence is needed to set up in DMCC, and a form of space needs to be rented as well. That's sort of the most basic option is a flexi desk, which is charged in addition. So look, there are plenty of free zone options that if people want to operate remotely, but obviously still do business here locally, then perhaps looking at another free zone solution may be advisable. We've got very good solutions in Sharjah, Fujairah, that really do allow to be operated, set up, and managed remotely. On DMCC, as I sort of mentioned there, you need to be physically present to incorporate the company, but then it can be managed remotely as well. But it is a bit more expensive than those sort of Northern Emirates solutions. So I'd invite a gentleman to please reach out to me. I'd be happy to run through some various options and pricing with him.
Fadi is also asking, D advised me that they cannot give me a license for drop shipping as I am not allowed to sell products that I do not own. What's your opinion on this, Alistair?
Yeah, I mean, interesting. You're not allowed to sell products that you do not own. I mean, look, maybe some miscommunication with DED, or they haven't fully understand the business model. But if Fadi could reach out to us, because if you look at players like Amazon and Noon, they sell plenty of products that they don't own themselves. So it obviously is happening here. But yeah, if Fadi could reach out to me, I'll be happy to run through some options.
Excellent. Julia, let's go back into sort of the beginning of the relationship when it comes to you advising clients. You started talking about choosing the right portal. Of course, you are a registered agent. Tell us a little bit about the key things that you need to choose when it comes to the portal, the payment gateway, and those kind of decisions that you need to do at the beginning of you getting into the e-commerce business.
Sure. I mean, quickly also, because I've seen there is a lady called Fiza or a gentleman that tried to reach out on the dropshipping course and the discount. And actually we do have it because this course is collaboratively done with Creative Zone. So I will send you the link and the discount code that we have for today's attendees that everyone can access. So that's one. Then other than that, yeah, on the in the course itself, of course, it will dive in much deeper, but I think especially on touching the question on that, Lorenzo, that you've asked on the payment gateway, you know, we always get asked, like, what is the best payment gateway to integrate? It's almost as if you ask, what is the best trade license to be used? Unless we don't know technically what you actually do, you know, it could be a multiple questions or it could be multiple answers. It's the same thing on logistics. Like a lot of people say, oh, but yeah, I heard DHL is the best or Aramex is the best, but let's assume you have your meat e-commerce business, Lorenzo. Let's assume the delivery partner that you choose is actually not able to deliver cooled transports, right? So the meat will be rotten in a couple of minutes. Or if you have furniture, let's say if you're having bed frames or tables, etc., a lot of delivery companies will not deliver that. So it's the same thing. Payment gateways, of course, they would integrate. And in here, I think also large misconceptions on what payment gateway to use, you know, how can we make certain features, or what are the features that people would consider as an e-commerce standard, right? We hear that a lot. Julia, tell me, what is the e-commerce standard features? There is no standard as such, because is your business standard, is what you're offering standard? Probably not, right? So, you know, people asking me, okay, what do we implement a lot these days? I think one of the points I can tell you are the most implemented applications these days are either WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. Why? Because people just need to reach out quickly. And I think I've mentioned that in most of the webinars, but I think that the big turning point was the lockdown. If you've seen within the lockdown, the actual first days of the lockdown, the only of the few companies online that I've seen have taken a proactive move to inform their customers was IKEA. They've immediately put up a banner saying that people have been, you know, affected with a lockdown, that their orders will be delivered post the situation, and that they've implemented as well some sort of a live chat opportunity for their customers to still be in touch, you know, for concerns or worries, because the whole world was on stop and no one knew what's going to happen. So here it's just, you know, how fast can you act towards your customer and support your customer? And that, I think, solves a lot of questions in what tools to use, how can you get set up and started. But if you would need any help in how to actually get started, of course, contact us. We help, you know, to find the right provider in terms of payments, etc. But that should be, of course, with a license, because you cannot integrate a payment gateway nor have a contract with a shipping provider if you do not have an official license where you want to act. Now, let's say a lot of people say, okay, but I don't sit in the UAE, but I want to sell into the UAE, right? I think that's one of the most famous questions that we get asked. And then I would give it to Alistair now, because he can answer it in a much nicer way than I am.
On that topic, Alistair?
Sorry, Lorenzo, what was the specific question?
Julia, this is the key question that you get. How can I...
The key question, Alistair. I am actually physically not in the UAE, and I want to have an e-commerce license to be able to sell towards the UAE or inside the UAE. Let's say I'm located in the UK. What do I have to do? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be definitely, we need to look at a free zone license operating under that sort of model. An onshore company would need the physical presence of the shareholders to incorporate. There are plenty of free zone options that we can incorporate with the shareholder outside of the country. In terms of documents we need to set up such a business, it's just copies of passports. It's usually a requirement that you visited the UAE previously. So we need a copy of the entry stamp when you were last here. There are some very standard application forms. You'd need to think of a company name. And then that's really the long and short of it. And then we can start incorporating the company. If the shareholder wants to operate and set this up from a remote location, then we really are thinking about Northern Emirate free zones such as Sharjah, Fujairah, Ajman. And we also actually have one option in Dubai now as well, in Meydan Free Zone. So yeah, that would be the process involved.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There's a question here from Divik. Alistair, it says, we're selling on Amazon and use Amazon warehouse for shipping. We do not have a physical store. What kind of license we do, and what kind of company is it required? Free zone or mainland?
So they're having a physical store. Sorry, you dropped out there, Lorenzo.
No, they said they don't have a physical store, and they're selling just through Amazon.
Through Amazon, yeah, no problem at all. You can operate as a free zone. As we sort of touched on our opening remarks, if you are outsourcing fulfillment, storage, and really you are just a website, you're taking payment from your customer, but then really outsourcing those various aspects to third parties, operating that as a free zone company is completely fine. And that is how 99% of people do it here. And arguably, it's probably the best way to enter the market, as Julia sort of said. It will reduce your initial exposure, definitely. But operating that as a free zone company is completely fine. And that's what we'd advise to set up.
Julia, Siraj is asking, how does drop shipping work in the UAE? You have quite a bit of experience on helping people do drop shipping from here, from the UAE. What are the differences between doing it in the UAE or for that matter, outside of the country?
I mean, a lot of times, as you see, like when you're outside of the country, you have the best and shortest ways of logistics. Obviously, it's like you know, you have a short way of the product coming to the customer. I think where the biggest key points when dealing with drop shipping is, of course, because the items are multiple sold in multiple countries, and you might see them, you know, and oftentimes when you see the images that are portrayed, they look like fake images, you know, because they're shot somewhere in I don't know, China, Hong Kong, or somewhere completely out of our region. But what do you actually do? What I would suggest, you order those products that you're interested in, test the quality, see for yourself, see how long does it take to actually ship the products. And then at the same time, see and take those products and take pictures, let's say, by Kite Beach or somewhere in the desert, make them relevant to actually the location, the region where we are, because this is what it comes down to. Again, you're building your brand and your story and localizing the brand, because this will build trust, right? And what you need is trust. In any e-commerce business, what you need to create is trust and the story. And apart from that, with the drop shipping in terms of, you know, the products to come and reach here, if you choose the standard shipping, which a lot of times you can, you will see it gets delivered, or you will be basically charged by or delivered by Emirates Post. So obviously, if you pick it up from Emirates Post, there is no charges. But if you would let it come to your doorstep, they might have a delivery fee on demand, like when they deliver it actually to you. So try to go and get it delivered to the Emirates Post office, and then you pick it up from there. You have a couple of, let's say, stocks in advance, so you don't run out immediately, right? I mean, drop shipping would naturally say that you don't hold the stock. I would still recommend you have a bit of backup stock, and rather have a smaller selection of products that you start, that you know you've tested them, the quality. And I think then you're good to go, because there's nothing worse if you start a business and you do not know what quality of manufacturer you rely on. You already burn yourself in the first couple of weeks, you know, and then where does it lead to in terms of running a sustainable business? It's almost down to zero. And I think the worst is to repair, you know, a bad experience. It's rather to improve that your funnel and the way you set up the structures until the actual end product reach, test it out on friends, have a couple of, you know, do your own test orders and friends or family. And then I think you know pretty well what works and what doesn't.
No, definitely. There's some good tips in there on things to have in mind before getting on the boat of setting up an e-commerce business. Alistair, maybe at this time you can share a bit more light on, we have a special package tailor-made for e-commerce businesses that, aside of, you know, advising them, you know, particularly on their need, depending on what they do, their activity, what kind of license, we also try to go the extra mile in giving them a set of discounts, packaged support that we have with certain partners. Can you explain a little bit more on this, and how is it that we're trying to give extra value when it comes to e-commerce businesses that we are advising here in the UAE?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have some tailor-made packages towards e-commerce companies. We have various packages that include contacts and discounts, special rates with partners such as DHL, obviously Julia and Creative 971. We have a partner for storaging, warehousing. We have a partner with Teller, who are a leading payment gateway provider here in the UAE as well. On that subject, I've seen that Stripe are now here in the UAE as well, which I know a lot of our audience will be familiar with, and particularly anyone in the e-commerce world. I've seen they've just got their approvals and they're now operating here full-fledged. So yeah, we offer a package that offers all of that. And in sort of a broader sense, what Creative Zone don't just focus on is business setup. As we sort of say, business setup really is just the beginning. We will introduce you to all these partners, but then we'll assist you opening a bank account. We can help you get a residency visa. We can help relocate your family here. We can give you some meeting room access in our downtown Dubai business hub. We can give you some legal advice if you need it. We can give you some help setting up your website. I could speak all afternoon about the services that we offer. We do really offer a 360-degree solution. We work with fantastic partners such as Julia and Creative 971, as well as all our other partners, to ensure every possible need imaginable is catered to, and we have a service aligned to it. So absolutely, anyone that's thinking or is on the edge of looking to set up here, as we keep saying, now is the time. Please do reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help.
Yeah. Jennifer, Alistair is asking, what would be the approximate cost when getting an e-commerce license selling beauty products? Can we guide the viewers on what are the costs that we're looking for, a free zone, for a mainland business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have e-commerce licenses starting in free zones at 5,750 dirhams, which is about $1,500 all in to set up. Our packages sort of will build up from there, depending on if you need visas, additional support with various things like bank accounts and so on. But yeah, we start at 5,750 in the free zones. We have various free zone options at that price point as well. Onshore is a little bit more expensive. As we said, physical presence is needed of the shareholders to set up the company. Our packages onshore start just under 20,000 dirhams. And yeah, they will sort of build up on there depending on if visas are required and so on.
So Julia, aside of the workshops that you do and the sort of the online content and people having access to your platform, what kind of one-on-one advice can you give to people when they come to you and say, look, do you have some sort of an advisory package where I can come to you and do X amount of sessions with you? How does it work?
Yeah, so actually our core business is actually web design and web development. So you would come and ask us to build your e-commerce website. Maybe you have something in mind, maybe you have a couple of reference sites, or you would want us to build it, totally fine. But as you said, Lorenzo, if someone comes and says, literally, can you take me through the process that you do in an online course? Can you take me through physically? Because I don't really, I'm not really into online courses, or I need more personalized support. Of course, we do have consultation packages. Those depend on how you want to get started. Usually we start with no less than 5 hours, because if there's anything, with a lasting effect, it obviously takes time, so we obviously need to know what we're doing. And then we would like to know what is it that you want to focus and what you have important for you in mind, because I've seen a lot, even through the comments here, like, what is important to some isn't important to the other. So we just need to understand that, but definitely consultancy, web design, bringing your website online, not only beautifully on a desktop, but it needs to function on mobile. So these days it's a mobile first community. A lot of people are accessing on the phone. And then as well, it needs to function, right? It doesn't help if it looks pretty and all nice and neat with the pictures, which I understand it might be a concern, but sometimes it's more about how quick can you enter the market, how can you test the waters, and that you can only do once you're live. So it's not to getting caught up in the nitty gritty of, let's say, the product images need to be on point. They need to be not pixelated. They need to be web compressed 100%. But of course, you can always perfectionize the process and try to lose yourself in it, or, you go make that step and test actually and have real users giving you kind of a feedback on where to go. And I think one more point as well for Alistair, what he mentioned in terms of Stripe. I mean, we know as well if Stripe has been active actually for, I think, 3 months now. So you can sign up on that directly on your Shopify store, or you can actually, approach them, sign up for an account. it's the same thing over here. They will ask you for a business license because no payment will be actually accepted without a license. We do have, and we did encounter a couple of people that tried a PayPal account. They tried to link up their personal PayPal account. I can tell you it's not a good idea to do that, because once you might be able to succeed in the, I don't know, hundreds or thousands, and then you will, basically, get lost and not be able to pull out your funds out of the PayPal account. Then you probably have real trouble. And I think that's what you need to be sure. Like, have your license in place and then your payment gateway. This is the right order.
There's another group of sort of payment solutions that don't necessarily 100% replace the payment option, but they're more like portals where individuals can post their products and also have a way of getting paid for it, such as Subuni and some others. Is there some light that you can give on those specific type of platforms?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they enable payment links, like so do many of them. I know Subuni is doing an amazing job here in the region, and I think there is two ways to either work with them. Either, yes, you have your own micro, let's say, I call it micro store because it doesn't fulfill any more bespoke requirements. So it does help you to get started, to be protected as well when running payments, because that's another thing. A lot of migrations at the moment to Shopify are happening. Why? Because it's a secured system, right? You're not able to touch the checkout. That means you're not able to, let's say, play around with any payment links. It's all PCI level 1. So it means it's bank compliance in terms of safety, security. So I think that's one mission as well that Subuni is trying to solve, and very smartly. So I think they have a great potential, to tap into, allow visibility to smaller merchants that try to go online. But yes, can you, like in terms of growing, can you take your steps forward? Certainly. Anything that you do that you host on your own service that is not cloud hosted, because Shopify is on a cloud. So basically you're having a platform that is online and not offline, let's say, backed on your service that you have somewhere in your office. Whatever you have on premise in terms of service that you have to run, make sure you have to maintain their safety and security at all times. And with the rise in digital commerce and all digital parts, we noticed as well that there is a rise in fraud, especially digital fraud. So there is a lot of upkeep and financial requirements then for you to make sure to protect that platform. And then I haven't even started from GDPR and all the EU regulations to save the customer data. So this can be, if there is any breach in those, you can be heftily fined or having troubles. So it's better to choose platforms in the beginning that support your security and the sustainability of the business, just to come back to that as well. Yeah.
I'm going to give another, before I go back to Alistair with some technical issues to do with licenses, but there's a couple of questions related to you. Julia, it says, can we do marketplace kind of business with Shopify? And I wanted to link this. Where are we at when it comes to the trend? Is it nowadays, do you need to go focused on the approach? Is a diversified approach something that still works? Should you just focus on a very niche, specific type of product and try to become a world famous with that? Or marketplace type of diversified approach is the trend? What's out there now?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, we do see a lot of individual brands that come up and bring up their own portfolio, which definitely in terms of brand strength and positioning, it's much easier than to position a let's say, vendor. You have to think, or a lot of times here in the UAE, like, let's say, retail groups, who own many brands. Let's say if a retail group will launch their website and have everything under their website, as long as it's in the same segment and it makes sense, it's totally fine, to leverage on and to have that, because in their end, it is an advantage. But let's say if you would try to come and you would throw electronic accessories on there, and then you would have a section for groceries, and then you would have another section for jewelry, like then you already seem not credible, because you can't be the player in everything. You already have Amazon, you have Noon, that kind of fill into these parts. Another part that a marketplace or that's something that can do very well is like focus, like, like let's say Mom's World, right? Like, which is totally focused only on products for one niche or for one industry, no matter if there is many suppliers. In terms of marketplace business with Shopify, I know there are certain plugins to answer maybe Perline's questions, but those plugins are not, let's say, feeding into an actual marketplace. So we would definitely not recommend you to do that. What we would recommend if you want to do a marketplace is when Noon was Souk, which was an early adaptation, we would tell you, you could run a marketplace, you could have different vendors and pay them separately. But what you should do, you should keep the inventory and the images and description in your control. Why? Because let's say if a vendor posts up their own images and descriptions and they go, for example, against the UAE consumer rights, it's your liability because your website is up and running. You are having your trade license behind it to back that up, right? But if you maintain the control, so let's say you have Excel files that, for example, or any data sheets that the merchants are providing you with product images and descriptions, it's on you to kind of proofread and then, say, okay, I post up that content, that's fine, or no, this is, against, let's say, community, it could be something religious or sexual harassing, you can't post that up on any UAE platform. So these parts, it's always good to keep the control. In best case scenario, it's everything works well. Like even, if you're running an e-commerce site and you say, oh, but I don't need a license, I want to test waters. Of course, can it work? Yes, but you're not in according to the laws that you should comply to in this country. And of course, if you get caught, you need to know that there are consequences you have to face. Same thing with the, product liability, etc. So it goes down to the small things where you really think, Julia is telling me about the worst case scenario. Just be aware of it. There is different ways to protect yourself and to go about this a smart way.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Alistair, back to you. Joe is asking, why is it more convenient to set up an online business, let's say in the UAE, compared to a place like the US? I think I know your answers to this. You can throw us a whole book on why the UAE is more competitive, more advantageous. Tell us a little bit, why is it convenient for people to operate from Dubai?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dubai business setup has just got easier and easier and easier. And, I'd like to think that we've been a contributor to that. The whole benefit of using Creative Zone is we take away any bureaucracy that may be involved in setting up a company here. Obviously, the UAE and the US are very, very different countries. It's the same with my country in the UK. You can incorporate a company in 20 minutes on Companies House, but then, you have to give them, up to 25% of your profit. So when we look here in the UAE at the tax environment that you can operate in here, which is zero, by the way, zero corporation tax, personal income tax, capital gains tax, there's only really one tax to be concerned with, which is VAT, which also makes running a business easier. You don't have to worry about tax liabilities coming. You don't have to worry about big tax bills coming at the end of the year. Accounting requirements inside the country as well are fairly minimal, as long as you're complying with all the local VAT regulations. Really, that's your mandatory accounting sort of done. As any reasonable business would do, we would always advise you keep an orderly form of accounts and books. And again, we have a dedicated tax and accounting department to do that. So in short, I think doing business in this country is just getting easier and easier. And for all of those reasons mentioned above, taxes zero. Once you've got your business license sorted, that really is it until the end of the year, and we'll be in touch to renew it for you. So, we can have a company set up in 2 days, in 48 hours, which, we're getting closer to the US and UK in terms of time frame. And of course, all those benefits we've mentioned there as well.
In fact, I want to add something here as a personal story for everyone who didn't know what's the fun fact of today. Actually, Creative 971 was back in 2016. Our very first license that we opened was with Creative Zone, with at that time Thomas that used to work with you guys. And we set our license up through Creative Zone. And at that time, even, years ago, for us, it was just the most credible company out there, and we felt most safest and most heard. And I think looking down now, years and years later where we have reached with the company today. So thanks, of course, to Creative Zone. And I can tell you guys, it's not just talks and, you know, we're not just sitting here and looking smart. We actually know what we do. So we would ask you, you know, rather reach out, make sure you make that extra call, you know, rather than stepping on the wrong foot. And I can tell you totally, it's in terms of time frames, sometimes it's the right people, you know, how to get things done. And yeah, that's literally all I can say.
To make that story even more interesting, Thomas is no longer with us for about a year or so. He set up your company in 2016, but he sent me a text message about 20 minutes ago saying that he's on the webinar right now and he's looking at this. So Thomas, it's good to see you, buddy. We miss you. And, I hope you're doing good. But yeah, it's interesting that you share it like that. So it's like you say, you really need to have the right partner that is going to avoid you having a lot of headaches in the future because you made the wrong mistakes. And we have someone like, I can see Fadi is commenting, I have met 3 agents at DED in 3 different visits, each giving me different information. So you see, you need to go to the right people, the right source. You have here with us, Alistair, who's been doing this for 8 years or so. You need someone to guide you through the whole steps. That's why we partner with people like Julia, specifically on the topic of e-commerce. But imagine there's 2,000 activities in the list of activities that you can do in the UAE as a business. And we try to go as deep as that, as having different partners, different specialists, different people that can advise our clients. And in this case, it's the topic of e-commerce that has become so relevant nowadays.
And I think that answers your question as well earlier, Lorenzo. You know, even in the e-commerce sector, it's nowhere far away, even from the real life. If you look at your niche, what you're trying to do, you are expert in your niche. So are we as an agency. Like, let's say for e-commerce, you're in the licensing field. But if you stick to your niche and you stick to your expertise, no one can come in and tell you, no, but it works this way or that way. And this one told me this and this one told me that. If you go open Facebook today, you'll find a gazillion of groups, you know, that completely like get lost. And this one had this and this one had this, like similar to the chat here. And it comes down to the people that you ask. You not only ask me, and you don't only pay us for the time that we provide you, but you actually pay for that experience, you know, for knowing in and out what we do every day, for years, that we've learned maybe the hard way, that we've had experienced on multiple millions of cases. And I think that's what it comes down to, right? So even if you want to start an e-commerce business, make sure you either from the niche, you understand what you do, or you create a certain niche that you cater to. I think, Lorenzo, that perfectly summed it up, because this is literally what we do in our businesses, and it's not anywhere different for an e-commerce business. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, well, it's 4:02. I think we reached the end of our session for today. I'll give you guys 1 more minute each for your final comments, your final thoughts. Alistair, what would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again to you, Lorenzo, and for everyone tuning in. As we discussed today, e-commerce and business here in general is really starting to boom. Just before coming here, I read some stats on the e-commerce market. In 2020, there was revenue of $6 billion just in the UAE alone. And you look at some of the local success stories of e-commerce companies, thinking about Namshi, InstaShop, Mum's World, who we discussed earlier as well, have revenues of in excess of $30 million. These are UAE homegrown companies. So there are so many success stories. My advice to everyone tuning in today, if you have any questions or you're even thinking about coming and setting up your company in this country, please do get in touch with me or get in touch with Julia. All our initial consultations are of course complimentary. We'd be happy to walk you through the process. We have various options on licensing. It's a bit of a minefield when it comes to licensing, but that's the whole benefit of talking to either me or one of my team about which option is most suitable for you. So please do get in touch. Please don't hesitate. We're all very friendly. We love speaking to entrepreneurs throughout the world. And thank you all again for tuning in.
Excellent, Alistair. Thank you so much for that. Julia, your 1 minute.
Yep, I actually gonna be doing the same thing. So I would say reach out to us. I think I've just opened up at the tab saying Q&A, and I've noticed there are far more questions answered on dropshipping in the UAE. Will it work? What license do I need? I think the course, I've provided information with a 30% discount code. So you will see Alistair as well live in action with us discussing specifically on dropshipping. So I'd recommend you have a look at that. Or reach out to us, like our contact details have been shared. I mean, there's a lot of, let's say, detailed and specific information that you would need experts to help you on, you know, and I think that's where you reach today. Looking back, I can say, would certain things that you try to do in your company, would you have needed always an expert to be by your side? Probably not, right? You could have read, could have run through the internet, you could have, you know, looked at like YouTube videos, etc. That's fine. Whoever has the time can do it. Whoever doesn't have the time, that, you know, needs an expert to do it faster for them and professional, then reach out, because the most important asset you have in this world is your time and your energy. So that's why there are people there for what they do, and they do it the right way. And you think about how you can simplify your life by just making it happen with us.
Perfect. That's excellent. Julia, Alistair, thank you so much for today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here, and to all our attendees. There were about 70, 80 people connected on this Zoom call, and we had about another 300-400 on our Facebook live page. Once again, thank you so much for attending. Alistair, Julia, thank you again, and we see you all in our next one in about a week.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.